The Judgment Day is banned, Liv's room key is stolen, and Samantha Irvin leaves Raw early in tears. We're talking about all of that and more. This is About Last Night. Well, hey there, welcome to Rumble Rewind. My name is Brandon. Today we are talking about all things Raw, live from Toledo, Ohio. Before we jump into it, do me a quick favor, scroll down below this video, hit that like button for me, and if you're not already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We're trying to grow this thing. We're pushing for our first 200 subscribers, and we are well on our way. Now, once we get there, we are going to be doing the best giveaway in the world, where we are going to give you one lucky subscriber a t-shirt and hat from WWE, and I really want you to be eligible to win that. So again, hit that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date on all of the coming information. Make sure you turn on those post notifications so you never miss an upload. All right, let's jump into it. Like I said, this is the go home episode before Clash at the Castle. Drew McIntyre would open up the night, and he would come out and talk about what it's going to be like to win the World Heavyweight Championship in front of his hometown crowd. Now, before he could finish that promo, Damian Priest and members of the Judgment Day, Finn Balor and JD McDonough, would interrupt. Priest came down and said he doesn't need the Judgment Day at ringside to beat Drew, but he wanted them there so that they would have the honor of seeing him retain his championship. Now, Drew would come back and say that's the only way he can win, and so Damian would make him a deal. He said, you take on Finn Balor tonight, and if you can win, then the Judgment Day will be barred from ringside. Now, this would set up our main event for the evening, and it was a good one, but we will get back to that in a bit. Sticking with the Judgment Day, though, once again, they and Liv Morgan kind of were the stories of the night. In a backstage segment, Dom was alone in the Judgment Day clubhouse, and Liv Morgan came in and gave him her hotel key. Later, Dom would tell the rest of the Judgment Day about it and try to get rid of it, but the key would go missing. Now, we would find out a bit later in a backstage segment that we were going to get the LWO and Braun Strowman teaming up to take on members of the Judgment Day. They would team up against Carlito, JD McDonough, and Dominic Mysterio. The face team would pick up the win with Dragon Lee getting the pinfall over Carlito. This, of course, happened after Braun Strowman did his usual overpowered monster offense to clear out everybody from ringside. The story, though, here was who? You got it, Liv Morgan. Now, at some point during the match, she would come out, she would jump up on the apron, and she would be drop kicked off of the apron by Zelina Vega. However, she would land on top of Dominic in a suggestive position. This too was broken up by Zelina as she and Morgan continued to fight at ringside. Later in the locker room, Priest said that they have to get back on track and fix this. He was frustrated about the loss, he's frustrated about the hotel key card. All of it is frustrating Priest, and he wants to get them back on track. However, the key card is missing. Dom, though, pulls it out of his pocket and claims he doesn't know how it got there and that Liv must have planted it, which totally could have happened during that previous match. Now, everyone in the Judgment Day agreed that they had to get rid of Liv and put this behind them, but as they're talking it out, Finn Balor sneakily grabs the key card and puts it in his pocket. There is something going on between Liv Morgan and Finn Balor. I know it, and it's going to be kind of at the end of this story when Rhea comes back. We're going to find out that Finn and Liv have been in this whole thing all along. Moving on from the Judgment Day, though, we would get a matchup between Lyra Valkyria and Io Sky. This, of course, was a return match from the Queen of the Ring tournament. Lyra got the win the first time and nearly got it this time. She did hit Io with the Nightwing. However, Dakota Kai broke up the pinfall behind the referee's back, allowing Io Sky to pick up the win. Now, post-match, Damage Control is celebrating, but Io Sky returns to the ring, followed by Dakota Kai and Kairi Sane, and begin to attack Lyra Valkyria. Kaden Carter and Katana Chance run down and make the save. Now, backstage a little later, Damage Control is talking, and Io Sky has another of her meltdowns saying that Damage Control has to change. Now, this, of course, is Lyra Valkyria's first loss on Monday Night Raw. This makes her 1-1 against Io Sky. So I expect this rivalry, this feud, to continue a little longer, and I actually expect both of them to be in the Money in the Bank match. I think that match, somehow they will end up costing each other the opportunity to win it, and that will continue the rivalry. I like this rivalry, though. They're putting on great matches. They're both really good in the ring. Io Sky is just phenomenal. They don't call her the genius of the sky for nothing, so I'm excited to see this matchup continue forward and see some of the great matches that they can put on. I do believe that next week we'll probably see a 6-woman tag team match between Kaden Carter, Katana Chance, and Lyra Valkyria taking on the members of Damage Control. Now, Io said Damage Control has to change. What kind of changes are we expecting? Let me know in the comments, what do you think? What sort of changes are coming to Damage Control? Are we going to see new members? Are we going to see people kicked out, removed? Are we going to see the beginning of the Damage Control breakup? I don't know. I hope that they continue forward with Damage Control. I think they've left a lot of storytelling and a lot of opportunity on the table, especially with Io Sky. And so I am hoping that Damage Control continues forward and we get to see more of this develop. Moving on, let's talk about Sami Zayn and the Alpha Academy. They would all meet up backstage and Zayn would apologize that everybody else in the Alpha Academy got caught in the middle of his and Gable's feud. Otis would arrive and Sami looked uncomfortable not knowing what was going to happen, and Otis actually apologized to Sami Zayn for losing his cool and attacking Zayn last week. Otis then talks about Chad Gable and how Chad Gable found Otis at his lowest point and has helped him rebuild. Otis says he's nothing without Gable, and Zayn argues against that and says that he has so much more to offer than he thinks. He continues to encourage the Alpha Academy to ditch Chad Gable and move on. Now, later in the night, Sami Zayn would come to the ring and talk about his upcoming match with Gable at Clash at the Castle. Gable and the Alpha Academy came out to respond, and Gable says that the Alpha Academy are happy. At that point, Sami says that Gable has lost his mind. And Gable tells Sami that tonight he is going to unleash an unstoppable version of Otis on Sami that night. One that listens to what Gable says and one that is ruthless and unrelenting. Now, this would lead us into the advertised match between Otis and Sami Zayn. During the match, this turned out to be true. Otis did listen to what Gable said. He did do what he was telling him to do, to the point where he hit some big splashes on Sami Zayn. Gable tells him to do it again. Otis hesitates. This hesitation leads to a distraction, and Sami Zayn hits the haluva kick out of nowhere to pick up the win. Now, after the match, Gable would attack Sami Zayn and tells Otis to do the same. Otis would eventually clothesline Zayn in the corner and hit him with the World's Strongest Slam. Gable celebrates, but after that, Otis turns as if he's going to attack Gable. This leads to Gable cowering in the corner. However, Otis doesn't attack him and simply leaves the ring instead. So here's where we're at with all of that. We still have no sign of the Creed brothers joining Gable, which has been heavily rumored for a while. My guess is that they're waiting to see what happens with the contract. Gable's contract is coming to an end soon, and there are rumors that he's leaving WWE, and there are rumors that he's staying in WWE. All these rumors, I don't know which is true. I hope that Gable stays, and I think we're going to kind of know at the end of Clash at the Castle. I think if Gable re-signs with WWE and is planning to stay there, then I think we get the Creed brothers faction situation started. I think that Gable might win the Intercontinental Championship. However, if Gable opts not to re-sign with the company, I think Sami retains and we get to continue this snooze fest championship reign that I just want to end. Again, nothing against Sami. He's just always been a better chaser than a champ. Moving on from there were a couple times during the night where Michael Cole would talk about NXT Battleground. Of course, that PLE was on Sunday night. A lot of newsworthy things happened there. If you didn't catch it, if you want to know what happened, hit this video right here and I will tell you all about it. But one of the things he talked about was Kalani Jordan winning the first ever women's NXT North American Championship. This is big news for the WWE because it means we have a women's mid-card championship on one of the 3 brands. I am hoping that this begins to show viability for women's mid-card championships and we start to get them on other brands as well. Additionally, Cole talked about the NXT Underground match between Shayna Baszler and Lola Vice. This would lead us into the women's tag team match between Shayna and Zoe Stark taking on Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. Cole would ask, what kind of mental state must Shayna Baszler be in after taking the loss to Lola Vice the previous night? Well, the answer to that question was, we might be seeing the resurgence of the dominant Shayna Baszler that we've heard legends and tales of. Shayna and Zoe would win this match in just over 2 minutes, and Baszler was the one that got the fall by putting Alba Fire in the Kirifuda clutch and giving her a nice little nap. So here's where that leaves us heading into Clash at the Castle. Alba Fire and Isla Dawn have absolutely no momentum coming into this thing. Thankfully though, Clash at the Castle takes place in Scotland, where they are both from. That said, the crowd is going to be behind Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. Even still, I think they have no shot at winning these tag team titles, unfortunately, because they are great competitors and they are actually really good champions. They've been the NXT Women's Tag Team Champions before, and I think that they would be great WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. WWE actually has a few really good women's tag teams. If they put some investment into it and put some time and creativity into it, they can have a healthy division. We've got Alba Fire and Abaddon. We've got Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler. We've got, obviously, for now, Jade and Bianca. We've got Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae, Kaden Carter and Katana Chance, and the list kind of goes on, and there's some other women hanging out in catering that could be really good tag team wrestlers. It's not a lack of resources, it's a lack of investment. So if WWE wants a creative or healthy women's tag team division, they just need to move it forward. So I am curious to see what happens at Clash. Pretty confident that Jade and Bianca are going to retain, but that all depends on how they want to start this feud between the two of them. That's the obvious end game, right? We want to see them go at it. They're billed as these two very similar, very powerful competitors, and we want to see them go one-on-one. The plans, I think, currently for that are rumored to be WrestleMania 41. Because of Triple H's love for long-term storytelling, I could see that feud beginning to take shape as early as this weekend if they want to do a really, really long, drawn-out build, or beginning at SummerSlam. So it all just depends on what they do with these tag team titles. Until they're ready to begin that feud, though, no one's stopping Jade and Bianca. It's just not going to happen. I do think that when it does happen, it will probably be a situation like this, a triple threat match, where the champions don't have to take the pinfall. Moving on from there, let's talk about the World Tag Team Champions. Throughout the night, The Miz is searching all over the arena for R-Truth. He said that bad things happen when R-Truth is left alone. He would share these thoughts with Sonya Deville, who's once again seen backstage talking to Natalya. Still curious where that is going. Miz finally finds R-Truth, and Truth tells Miz that he's seen a fortune teller and that they're going to have the opportunity to defend their titles tonight against Farouk and Bradshaw, the APA. Miz acts totally confused until we find out that the fortune teller turns out to be Scarlett, and of course the awesome Truth will be facing AOP, not APA. Scarlett gives Miz a tarot card, which is obviously the death card. Truth says he got the same card and is fearful that they're going to die tonight. That match would happen later in the evening, and right before we would get a backstage promo with the Final Testament saying that AOP would win the titles tonight and that Woods, because of that, would finally be able to join them. The match would end with Miz and R-Truth retaining after the New Day attacked Karrion Kross on the outside, distracting AOP. Now, this story is all about the New Day versus the Final Testament, so the finish to me here makes sense. Couple of thoughts, though. I'm curious to see where this story is headed. I do hope it goes somewhere that results in big things for both of these teams, both the New Day and the Final Testament. I see huge potential in the Final Testament. I love what they're doing, what they've got going on. The way that they're booked, though, is a little underwhelming. They always seem like they're on the precipice of something. Like, could they have won the titles tonight, given them some legitimacy? Yes. However, the bigger story is the New Day. What is happening with them? Are we going to get a breakup? Are we going to get a repackage? Whatever it is, I just hope it's something. I want something new from the New Day. It's over. It's tired. It's done. Final question on that, though, is why is Paul Ellering here? What does he do? He's not the mouthpiece of the group. He doesn't really talk. He doesn't ever get involved. He's just sort of there. And I'm very curious about that. I don't see him adding any value, but tell me, maybe you do. Maybe you see what his value is. Let me know in the comments. Why is Paul Ellering part of the WWE? Moving on, let's talk about Braun Breaker and Ilya Dragunov. Now, we would get a recap of their rivalry from NXT, and it would lead us into this match tonight. Now, Breaker wins in a very physical match. At one point, the match goes to the outside, where Braun uses the announce table, the barricade, and the ring post to work over the ribs of Dragunov. After that, Breaker would hit Dragunov with a spear, but Dragunov rolled to the outside of the ring. Out there, Breaker runs a lap around the ring and spears Dragunov again, leaving him laying to take the 10 count. Dragunov, though, barely beats the count out. It gets back into the ring and is immediately met with a third spear, and Breaker picks up the win. Post-match, Breaker goes to ringside because he is going to continue the beatdown on Dragunov. However, Ricochet attacks Braun Breaker from the crowd, and that fight heads into the backstage area. We would pick this up backstage. We'd see this brawl happening between Breakker and Ricochet, and Breakker would quickly get the advantage. He would pick up Ricochet and throw him like a javelin into the side of one of the production trucks. Very Kevin Nash, Rey Mysterio from WCW. Right after that, he would pick up Ricochet and power slam him onto the windshield of a car. Ricochet would be taken away in an ambulance, and Samantha Irvin would tearfully get into the ambulance with him and leave the arena. Now, concerning this story, here's what we know. It has been heavily rumored and honestly all but confirmed that Ricochet is probably on his way out of the WWE. For me, this might be a hot take, but I've never really found Ricochet to be a compelling character. Yes, in the ring, he is unmatched. The moves that he pulls off, the way that he controls his body, the way that he is able to do the things that he can do in the ring is incredible. But everything else, for me, is lacking. His promo skills have gotten a little bit better recently, but I don't see him getting a big push in WWE unless he can change that. I think that is his frustration, and that is why he is opting to move on from WWE. Here's my actual concern: Samantha Irvin. I don't want Samantha to leave. WWE, Triple H, whoever is in charge of that, give this woman whatever she wants to keep her as the Monday Night Raw ring announcer. She does such a great job. She adds so much personality to every competitor. Samantha Irvin no longer being part of WWE would be a huge, huge loss. And I'm just going to say it, a larger loss than Ricochet. But tell me what you think. Have I lost my mind? Do you think that Ricochet is world championship material? Or do you think that he is a great in-ring competitor, but that is kind of it? As we get close to the conclusion of the show, we did get a couple of Money in the Bank promos or video packages. We got one from Ludwig Kaiser, one from Sheamus, one from Jey Uso, all of them talking about their goals to win the Money in the Bank briefcase. Cole did let us know that those qualifying matches would begin next week on Raw. So right out of Clash at the Castle, we're going to start qualifying for Money in the Bank. It's only 3 weeks from Clash to Money in the Bank, so they're going to have to get on this pretty quickly. So give me your way too early predictions for Money in the Bank. Who do you think is going to win? For me, as I look at what we know so far, I don't see a favorite out of those three. And honestly, I can't think off the top of my head who I would pick to win the men's Money in the Bank in the first place. Now on the women's side, Chelsea Green or Tiffany Stratton, my preference would be Tiffany Stratton. But we'll just have to wait and see. For me, a lot of that would be determined on who comes out of Clash at the Castle with the World Heavyweight Championship. If it's Drew McIntyre, I could see Sheamus winning Money in the Bank. That would be awesome. All right, let's close this thing out by talking about the main event. We, of course, got Drew McIntyre taking on Finn Balor. If Drew gets the win, then the Judgment Day is barred from ringside at Clash at the Castle. Now, Drew McIntyre would, in fact, get this win, but not just any win. He got this win in a dominating fashion. He overcame a distraction by Damian Priest and attempted interference from Carlito and JD McDonough. So, as a result, the Judgment Day is barred from ringside at Clash at the Castle. Now, this match did a lot for us as it relates to Clash at the Castle, specifically because Drew McIntyre's focus has been the subject of so much conversation. Ever since he lost the title at WrestleMania, and Punk said that he is obsessed with him, Damian Priest basically says the same thing. However, tonight, Drew answered the question that he can be focused when it counts. That is the only reason he was able to win this match, despite the interference from the Judgment Day, despite the distraction by Damian Priest, he still came out on top. Drew says, through his actions in this match, that he is more focused now than ever. So what happens at Clash at the Castle? Of course, we've got both of these guys who are traditional heels, but both of them have been acting more like faces lately. Damian Priest has been talking a lot more like a face lately, saying he doesn't need the Judgment Day's help, kind of trying to stand on his own, and so there's that. But on the other side, you have Drew McIntyre, who's from Scotland, who lost in front of his hometown crowd last year to Roman Reigns, and nobody wants to see that again, right? So the question is, what actually happens? What is the outcome? Who walks out of Clash at the Castle with the title? I think it's going to be Damian Priest, and I think it's going to be because CM Punk interferes. That happens. All of a sudden, CM Punk is going to have a major heat, and it's going to throw gasoline on this fire of a feud between Drew and CM Punk. CM Punk has already cost him one world title reign. Now he will cost him the opportunity for a second, and in front of his hometown and in front of his family. So that's going to be a big fuel for this fire. I don't think the CM Punk-Drew McIntyre rivalry needs the World Heavyweight Championship. We also know that Gunther is the #1 contender and will be getting a title shot at SummerSlam. Now, for me, I'm not interested in a triple threat match with Gunther and Punk and McIntyre. I think Priest retains. Priest defends the title against Gunther at SummerSlam and may lose it there. I don't believe that his title reign is over, and I know that CM Punk and Drew McIntyre's feud does not need a championship to be a big deal. So, Priest retains, but we'll have all that for you in our official predictions video later this week. But tell me in the comments what you think. Who do you think is going to walk out of Clash at the Castle with the World Heavyweight Championship? Looking at this show from an overall standpoint, I would give it about a 7 out of 10. Again, this week, there was nothing that was can't miss about this show. There was some good story development. Things moved forward. Things progressed really well as we headed into Clash at the Castle. But there was nothing about Monday Night Raw this week that made me say, I have to see Clash at the Castle this weekend. So for me, if I've already decided to watch it, which of course I have, I'm going to watch it. But if I was on the fence, this wouldn't push me any more forward. Now, all that said, I do expect next week's Monday Night Raw to be very different. Early in the night, we got our latest QR code in the Uncle Howdy, Wyatt 6, however you want to refer to it, Nightbird saga. And that QR code led to a website with a countdown clock. That countdown clock is counting down to the start of next week's Monday Night Raw. So I do expect next week we will have some can't miss moments. We will see the debut of this new faction or this new group, and I'm stoked for that. If you're not following those QR codes, now's the time to catch up. We're in the home stretch. We're in the final 7 days of this thing. So hoping to see some more developments on SmackDown, maybe even a little bit of a teaser at Clash at the Castle. But next Monday night's Raw should be the debut of the Wyatt 6 or whatever name they decide to go by. All in all, like I said, though, 7 out of 10 overall. Looking forward to Clash at the Castle still. Looking forward to next week's Raw, as I think that is when business will continue to pick up. Well, hey, that is it for today's episode of About Last Night. Thanks for hanging out with me. Before you go, you're still here. You liked the video, right? Just let me know that. Let me know that you liked it by clicking the button down below. Also, while you're down there, subscribe to the channel. We're getting more and more subscribers every day, getting closer and closer to that 200 subscriber goal, at which point we will be able to do this giveaway, the best giveaway in the world. So subscribe, help us grow this channel. If you know somebody that you think would love this video, share it with them. Turn on your post notifications so you never miss an upload. Thanks again for hanging out with me today on Rumble Rewind. I'll see you on the next one.